Hello everybody, Hassan here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to have some follow-up thoughts about the B Word conference, which was yesterday between the discussion between Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey, and Cathie Wood. Before we do that, guys, before we talk about that, please, guys, like this video, smash that like button, destroy that like button, guys. Really helps this channel. You guys know how the YouTube algorithms work. You really have to press that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe. Really helps this channel, guys. And if you want our videos to get to you faster, hit that notification bell. So yesterday, obviously, we had a video in our channel. If you haven't watched that video, please do so. Those were my first thoughts about the whole conference, about that 1 hour conversation, and I'll link it in the video. But really, I've had the time to sort of digest what happened yesterday, since yesterday, and a couple of thoughts, right? Couple of thoughts and some reaction I have some comments about, and maybe it'll help you guys sort of navigate your way through understanding Bitcoin, understanding the FUD, understanding Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey's point of view, and so on. So first of all, I want to mention that 1 hour is not enough. Okay, 1 hour conversation is not enough between three individuals such as Cathie Wood, Jack Dorsey, and Elon Musk. Okay, so let's put things in perspective, right? 1 hour live conversation is not enough because, as you may have seen from that conversation, Cathie would, if you segment speaking time per individual, I felt like the times were not properly segmented. Like some of the questions could have been a lot more answered a lot more specifically by each individuals, right? But because there's three speakers and the host, it's just really hard to have all of that condensed in 1 hour. So that's my first thought about it. I didn't mention that in the last video, in yesterday's video, but 1 hour conversation is not enough. Okay, there's a reason why Bitcoin podcast and there's hours episodes. You see Michael Saylor and Robert Breedlove, their episode, they go on like 5 hours per video or something crazy like that. There's a reason why this has to happen, right? Because when you talk about a subject like Bitcoin, it takes a lot more than just 5 minutes, right? To explain what are your thoughts. Even if you just talk about the energy, right? There's so many things. And a couple of notes there. Elon Musk said, about how the government there is the biggest monopoly, right? It's the biggest corporation, right? They have a monopoly on violence, right? And that was really interesting, right? And I wish that, again, if it was a long conversation, I think he would have expanded on that. I think we would know a little bit more his thoughts on governments and just how the government can sort of add complexities and layers and bureaucracies to really slow down innovation and creativity, and they basically slow down the technology growth and adoption in different regions around the world. And actually he even mentioned an example how Tesla banks, they have to pay European banks to hold their money, right? So there is some sort of frustration there, and I wish that could have been explored further by Cathie Wood or by Ark Invest, saying, what are the means they took for this. What are the alternatives if you don't even look at Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies? What are the alternatives to that? What would Tesla do in terms of holding their cash in European banks? And we know how fiat currency is slowing down in terms of adoption. Cryptocurrencies are rising, specifically Bitcoin. It's gaining traction, a lot of popularity around it. We know this for a fact. So I wish that some of that would be expanded by Elon Musk. And even the conversation about Elon Musk really asking Jack Dorsey, well, will you make Twitter adopt Bitcoin transactions, Bitcoin as a mode of payment from advertisers? And I think this was a really pivoting moment there in that conversation. And I know a lot of people believe that this was rehearsed, the whole conversation between Cathie Wood, Jack Dorsey, and Elon Musk. And I do truly believe those three billionaires, they definitely had conversations beforehand. They sort of, already. So I would like to believe that they sort of knew the questions beforehand. But I don't think Jack Dorsey was expecting that question, because just by his reaction, if you guys look at his reaction, you would clearly see that he was sort of taken, taken by surprise. He couldn't really answer properly to that question, because it is a valid question, right? If you're such a Bitcoin supporter, if you believe in Bitcoin, if you literally have sort of converted your Square company into a sort of a company where it supports Bitcoin through the Cash App ecosystem and so on, then it would just make sense to make your other company, Twitter, which is the number two social media platform, some may argue, or maybe even number one in some different industries, right? You would make it so that advertisers can pay you in Bitcoin. And I think that's quite a legitimate question. And again, if you sort of put yourself in Jack's shoes, first of all, he has so many stakeholders to answer to, right? And he doesn't. Yes, he's the CEO and founder of Twitter, but there's a whole board of directors behind him, right? There's a whole team of leadership. He can't just go on such conference just say, yeah, we'll make advertisers pay us in cryptocurrency. These are big announcements that have to be filed, discussed, and so on. So I do think there was a golden moment there. And again, I felt like if that could have been explored more. We know Elon Musk is all against ad model businesses. He believes the ad model business is broken, how it is incentivizing the wrong things. It is not incentivizing the citizens. We know this because of how Tesla does not pay $0 to legacy media to display their vehicles, their products on their website, on their TV shows, and so on. It's really interesting that that question was asked. Again, I wish that would have been more explored. Elon Musk even talked about the energy side of things, and I think this is quite interesting that he reiterated Tesla's mission there, and I think he wanted to sort of discuss further about how he really is all about energy and the renewable energy sources adoption. And I love how Cathie Wood sort of interjected that with say, well, I'm not sure if you read our paper between Ark Invest and Square. So I found that really, really interesting that Cathie Wood sort of push back on that and sort of reiterated the research paper, which we did cover in this channel, by the way, guys. We did cover that research paper. So that was an interesting moment too. Really quickly, this article here talked about how the headline is SpaceX holds Bitcoin, and how he ribs Jack Dorsey at a conference. That was obviously to the ads question reference. But again, we talked about in the last video, quite amazing that he announced for the first time that SpaceX officially owns Bitcoin. It's a private company. I think this is amazing what's going on in this space. The fact that a private company such as SpaceX can own Bitcoin. A lot of people are not taken by surprise, but I think this is amazing news. There were rumors that one of their VPs attended one of the Michael Saylor's Bitcoin virtual conferences like earlier this year, but the fact that this was announced by Elon Musk yesterday, this was breaking news. This is great news. I'm really happy that it's not just Tesla, it's also SpaceX now, and most likely other companies in Elon's portfolio, such as Boring Company, and even Neuralink. I think they will eventually adopt it as well. And in terms of personal holdings, I just love how Elon Musk reiterated that he owns Bitcoin. He has not sold Bitcoin, and compared to Dogecoin and Ethereum, which he also owned, Bitcoin is the majority of it. And it's really interesting that he repeated that several times. I think basically what that means is that basically he's stating that although he tweets a lot about Dogecoin, it is still a minority in his crypto portfolio, if that's how you want to call it, the crypto portfolio. Bitcoin is the majority of it between the three. But it's really interesting. He owns some Ethereum. That obviously means that he is interested in this space. We know that he's made comments to Vitalik in the past, which is obviously one of the founders of Ethereum. So we know he knows about this space in such ways, but the fact he owns it, I think this speaks volume. And I think a lot of people don't know this, but he did mention that besides owning the companies that he actually is employed, um, this is the only really big assets that he owns, right? He doesn't own gold, he doesn't own silver, as far as we know, anyways. He doesn't own like multiple real estate. In fact, he even sold his real estate, if I remember. So he doesn't own these types of assets, right? And the fact that he, specifically Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum and a little bit of Dogecoin. I think that speaks volume of the crypto world. I think that speaks volume of Bitcoin as it is. I think this is just amazing. And obviously, in terms of Jack Dorsey, we know he's a big supporter of Bitcoin. We know this. He's mentioned this several times. His whole company Square is really shifted towards Bitcoin. And we covered that in a previous video. We believe Square as a company will be valued over $1 trillion market cap in the foreseeable future because of Bitcoin, right? Because of their willingness to adopt Bitcoin as their ecosystem really revolve around that. We strongly believe this will happen. Only 10% of Cash App users have some sort of affiliation with Bitcoin on that app, right? 10%, right? And we're talking about millions of people there. So 90% of users of Cash App, as we speak, don't even have any affiliation with Bitcoin. So imagine what happens when the adoption rate grows. So I think we are so early in this space, guys. Bitcoin. It's sort of, I make parallels with other verticals such as genomics, right? Genomics, we are so early in genome editing with biotech. And the same way with Bitcoin, right? We are so early. And I think for people that are in these bubbles, these communities, it feels like everybody knows about Bitcoin. It really does feel like things are moving forward. But ultimately, there are so many institutions that have not been involved with Bitcoin that are looking into getting involved. Those are the rumors. Retirement funds, pension funds, all these big, huge funds, right, that have trillions and trillions of dollars on the standby, right? They could really pour themselves into Bitcoin. So I think this is just amazing what we're seeing in this space. I think this was amazing. The fact that he said, I might pump, but I don't dump, right? This speaks volume, guys. I know some of you are not big supporters of Elon Musk or just billionaires in general, but ultimately, guys, Bitcoin has no leader. Bitcoin has no entity to represent. Bitcoin is a network. It has a source code. It is the truth. We don't trust. We verify on the Bitcoin network. And we, as users, as citizens, we are participants of the Bitcoin network. And obviously, there are other cryptocurrencies. And in this channel, guys, we don't try to put one crypto project against another. That's not the goal for myself. That's not the goal of this channel. The goal of this channel is to really reveal these types of technologies, to adopt increase the adoption rate, sort of allow you guys to sort of have that education, educate yourself, do your own research, have the tools really to sort of make your own formed opinion, and ultimately pull the triggers to where you want your investment portfolio, your investment funds, and so on, right? For your friends, for your family, for your investors, ultimately, guys, you do your own research, you come up with your own decision. We would never provide you financial advice, but when these types of news comes in, we believe we are strongly early in this space. In fact, the fact that Dorsey talked about how Bitcoin, he sort of related Bitcoin with freedom. Elon Musk talked about how governments have monopoly on violence, right? And Cathie Wood ultimately said how institutions, really need to look further into this because the FUD has been debunked over time and time by different research reports. We know this even in the B Word conference. Nick Carter, one of the big proponents of Bitcoin, he had a whole presentation, like 45 minutes, really talking about like energy. And we even talked about this in this channel, guys, how it's really unfair for legacy media to tackle Bitcoin's energy consumption, considering all these huge banks, all these Western unions and middlemen companies, shark companies, credit loans companies, these shark type companies where they have big institutions, big buildings, big energy consumption. You need personnel to run those. You need uh, resources to clean those, all the lights on in those buildings, all that real estate that takes it in cities, extremely expensive, and having high interest, basically having a huge fees between remittance. We saw that from the Kingdom of Tonga. We had an interview with Lord Fuzitia. He even said it himself that the Western unions of the world, they really take 30 to 40% of every single transactions, right, of all the remittance. And we know this is a huge industry. Even Cathie Wood talked about it in Nepal, in Nigeria, Tonga. So I think we are so early in this space. I think what we're seeing on the Lightning Network with Strike, it's so amazing. And my last point would be that I still find it extremely interesting that Elon Musk talked about Lightning Network a couple of times it felt like he wanted to push that narrative, that conversation to the Lightning Network. He wanted to basically demonstrate to all the viewers that, hey, I know I tweeted this in the past. I know a lot of you Bitcoin maximalists and supporters don't like me, and you think that I don't know anything about it. But guys, I've been studying this, I've been reaching out to people. I feel like that's what he tried to sort of steer that conversation. Again, it's just a 1 hour live conversation, and he's sharing that time between three amazing individuals. But ultimately, I strongly believe this was a net positive for Bitcoin. This was a net positive for all the crypto world, guys. Don't forget the real enemies in terms of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. It's the central banks really printing fiat money without having anyone to report to directly. I think that is the biggest player that we're sort of trying to address and sort of shift this community towards to, right. Don't put one crypto project against another, guys. Trust me, this is not the way we want to do things. 2017, we've seen it happen, right? And legacy media, guys, I can guarantee you guys, legacy media will definitely do that. Will definitely put Ethereum versus Bitcoin or Bitcoin versus Dogecoin. They will do everything to do that because it gets them clicks, it gets them eyeballs, and ultimately more ads, right? So those were my follow-up thoughts. I wanted to make that this video to talk about it, certain points. I know we went all over the place here, but there were so many things there. And also, the fact that Elon said that Tesla will most likely resume accepting Bitcoin as transactions. Again, these are things we covered in the last video, but I just wanted to sort of pull it up again, sort of put a bubble around the things we sort of listened to, knowing what we the conversation we had the past 24 hours about this amazing conference, this amazing conversation. Ultimately, I think it's an amazing for this space. Again, guys, you guys do your own research, so hopefully you guys appreciate this video. If you did, guys, like this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't. If you guys have any comments, feedback, again, what are you guys thinking, what are you guys seeing, what are you guys reading? If you have questions or something, you're something concerning, maybe you want to address something, leave it in the comment below. People do read your comments, guys, trust me, people do read your comments. So yeah, your comment doesn't just get to me, or it gets to all our viewers, right? And our community is growing, so thank you very much for the support, guys. Again, it is Thursday, it's a beautiful week. I hope you guys are having a great week. We're like way past mid summer, so guys, do take some sunshine, have some great time out there, guys. I know we get sort of tangled with these discussions. It gets very heated, very tension. There's a lot of tension, but ultimately you want to have a great time for your friends, for your family, for yourself. So hopefully you guys have some great sunshine there. It's Thursday, so hopefully you guys have a beautiful rest of the evening, and we'll see each other in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you.